Hello everyone, my name is Vaishali Singh, and like any of you, I too am a girl with a lot of dreams, and today I will share my journey about achieving one of my dream to become an IAS officer. I have achieved All India Rank 8 in Civil Services Examination 2018 this year. So I come from a place called Faridabad in Haryana, and I grew up there and I've spent almost my entire life in that area. So I went to an amazing school and have an amazing family who have helped me, nurtured me, and have helped me reach till here. As a kid, I used to love sports. I have played volleyball in school, and I also continue to do so in my law school. And from there, I developed an interest in sports. I love watching football and tennis. I come from a family of lawyers, and which is why law came naturally to me. And after my school, I decided to pursue law as a career. I decided to study law, and I went to National Law University, Delhi. When I entered my law school, it is a very competitive law school, and I used to wonder if am I good enough? Will I be able to survive this? Will I be able to survive my time away from home? But I did. It was 5 years of beautiful journey, and I faced a lot of successes and failures. Probably I faced my biggest failure while I was at law school. That failure has helped me to learn a lot about how we must deal with such situations, and it has continued to help me till now. In my first year of college itself, I participated in one of the competitions. I secured a good rank, and the competition was for allotment of moot courts. So moot courts are mock courts, and it's an extracurricular activity in law school. Even though I got a good rank, we were open challenged by another team, and eventually we lost that open challenge. And because I was the junior most on that team, I used to feel dejected. I used to feel that it was because of me that my other teammates lost out on it, and we didn't get a chance to go to Jessup. Jessup is like a World Cup of moots. However, things worked out in our favor a bit. We were given a substitute moot, and it was from there that my journey began in the law school. Got a lot of exposure. I went to Germany. I made some of the best friends. I found some of the best friends in my seniors, and they're still there with me. They're still here with me. So there I learned that even though I failed in one of my, say, career or one of my academic performances, but I gained a few friends, and that matters a lot. And eventually, it was my experience at that moot, at the moot that I thought I'd failed, that helped me to go for that moot again. And that's when I learned that at times we wonder that the things that have happened to us or are happening to us are probably the worst things that could have happened to us. But they actually become blessing in disguise at times. And I finally got to go for my dream moot, that was Jessup. We won the national rounds, and we got a chance to go to the United States of America. And that entire experience taught me a lot. It made me stronger. It made me believe that I'm stronger than I think. And my overcoming of that failure helped me to overcome a failure that I'll talk about later when it comes to my civil services preparation. So towards the end of my law school, I worked with an NGO called IDI, Increasing Diversity by Increasing Access to Legal Education. The sole purpose of that NGO is to ensure that people from underprivileged backgrounds, people from diverse backgrounds make it to the law school, so that they have access to the quality legal education that is being provided by these institutions. And here, in the 3 years of my journey with IDI, I happened to become the team leader for a student by the name of Trilok. So Trilok is a wonderful person. He's a wonderful child and so smart, so good at maths and logic. The only thing that was stopping him from getting into a good law school was his Hindi medium background, because all the law school exams were in English, and he found it difficult to read the questions, understand the questions, and to achieve that speed that was needed to complete those examinations. And it was while I was working with him, while we were training him, that I realized that such a child has a lot of potential, and due to certain policies, due to certain education structure that we have, he was being denied of that opportunity. And that experience, that incident, really helped me and motivated me to go for a career, go for a service where I am in a position to bring a change, where I am in a position to do something that is preventive, that can prevent a harm from happening. And that is where my motivation for UPSC started, that is where the seeds were. But however, till then I already had a law firm job. So after my law school, I went ahead for a corporate law firm job. 3 months into it, I faced certain injuries with my knee, and I also began questioning about the purpose of my job. What am I doing here? Is this something that I really want to do? So all those questions started to crop up. And after this brief stint at the law firm, I decided that this is not me. This is not what I want to do. I'm too young to settle for something that I probably don't like. I wanted to take my chances. I wanted to pursue something that became my dream over the 5 years of law school, something that was my father's dream from the childhood itself. So I decided to then sit for Civil Services Examination. I remember when I decided to go for it, it was already January and February, and the exam was in June. I just had 5 months in hand. So even though I had thought that I will give 2 proper attempts, that will be my limit for the attempts, I still decided to give this half-baked attempt to see how it goes. But as it is with all of us, we never take something just as half-baked. I wanted to give my best to this exam. And in those 5 months, I completely exhausted myself. I used to study for 13 to 14 hours every day. I didn't take any break. I used to keep studying. I'm someone who studies at night, so I used to study till 6 in the morning. And I didn't realize that I am committing a number of mistakes that will eventually cost me that attempt. And I only realized this on the day of the examination. Because on the day of the examination, I was exhausted. My body, my mind, I was just exhausted from the studies of the past 5 months that I'd done without any break. Because I was a night person, my mind didn't work in the morning. I remember I was reading the first question, and it took me 2 minutes to understand what was written. And believe me, it was the easiest question of that paper. And at that time, I realized that, Vaishali, you have committed a blunder here. But still, I went ahead, completed that paper. And when I came back and I matched my answer key, I realized that I would probably miss out by 1 or 2 questions, and out of which 1 question I marked wrong in the paper because of all the anxiety and all the tension that we have during that paper. So I filled a circle wrong. I couldn't sleep that night because I realized, oh my God, how could I have done this? And eventually the result came, and I missed out on prelims. It was heartbreaking. Even though for me it was a half-baked attempt, just an attempt, but still it's heartbreaking for any of us, like any of us. And I remember I didn't study for 10 days. I was in a denial mode. I was like, I'm not going to study for 10 days. I need a break. But after 10 days, I came back to it. I literally replayed the past 5 months in my head, and I tried to identify what went wrong. And there were a number of things that went wrong at a number of places. Firstly, that the very idea of studying for 5 or 6 months continuously without any break was stupid. I should not have done this, because we cannot survive such exhaustion. I realized that I needed to be my best. I didn't have to be someone else's best, someone who says that you have to study for these many hours. I wasn't at my best because my body didn't allow it. So eventually, in my second attempt, I rectified this. I ensured that I identified things that I loved. I love to travel, I love to play, I love watching sports. I didn't give up on this in my second attempt. That was my first proper attempt. So in that 1 year of preparation after my first attempt, I traveled nearly 6 to 7 times. I made sure that I traveled every time after every stage of the examination. I remember my prelims was on 3rd June, this attempt that I cleared, and I went to go on 4th June. I was there, and once I came back, I was completely fresh. So I did this. Similarly, I remember before my means, I love Wimbledon. I love Roger Federer, and it's my dream to see him win another Wimbledon. So I ensured that I kept watching the Wimbledon even during my mains preparation. So what I'm trying to say is that I identified that I had lost Vaishali in my first attempt. I wasn't being myself. So in my second attempt, I ensured that I cover and I do things that I like, because that would have made me more comfortable. That would have made me be at my best, and that worked out. Similarly, another learning from my first failure was that I was a night person, like I mentioned before. But this time I realized this is not how our body clock works. There's our nature, our body has certain cloth certain conditions, certain limitations, and we must respect that. So I tried, what I did was, very smartly, I used to study till late in the night until my exam, but 1 month before that I used to change my cycle. So I started doing such things. I started to identify myself in the process. I identified the demands of the examination, and I molded myself. So eventually then my second attempt came, my prelims came, and I remember that about 15 days before my prelims, 15-20 days, there was a medical emergency at my house, and I couldn't study for 10 to 15 days. I lost out on the crucial 10 to 15 days right before my prelims, something that you don't want to happen with you, but it did. And I remember that my entire flow just got broken. I lost touch with the exam, and 10 days before the exam, I called up a friend who was also writing the exam, and I told him, listen, I've lost out on 10 days. I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to attempt a paper anymore. And he just told me, Vaishali, it's okay. You've studied for 1 year. You've given your best then. These 15 days matter, but they wouldn't matter that much. So you need to cover them up. And he motivated me to go for it. And I remember then in the last 10 days, I took some 10-15 mocks so that I could just come back into the groove. And 5 days before the exam, I found out that another friend of mine was going through something similar. She too was facing some emergency at her house, and even she couldn't study. That's when it made me realize that we all go through similar things. It's just that we always wonder that we are the only ones who are suffering. We are the only ones who are facing these troubles. That's not true. A lot of others are, and they're coping up with it. So even I need to cope up with it. So even that incident helped me to tell myself that it's okay what you're facing. You're stronger than you think. You will come out of it. And I did. I did well at my prelims because I realized that after what had happened, that, this is just an exam. Nothing less, nothing more. You just have to give your best. It's not your life. It will not be the end of your life. And I went with that warrior mode that this is just an exam. I just need to excel and success in this. And I did. After my prelims, next stage was mains, and I decided that the mock practice that had helped me during my prelims is something that I will need again for mains. Even though I'm not prepared, I will have to give mock practices, because some of my friends who had attempted before, they didn't do enough mocks because they thought that they were not prepared, and they missed out on mains. So I didn't want to commit that error. So I shifted to Old Rajendra Nagar in Delhi for mock test practices so that I get enough practice. And it was a brave decision, I would say, because until then I was working, I was studying at my home, I was in my comfort zone, I had my family around, I had my pet Pablo around. So, but when I shifted, I was alone. There was no one in my house at that time. I was going through a lot because there's so much to study, and you keep questioning yourself whether you'll be able to finish the syllabus, whether it will work out, what if it doesn't work out. So all those questions keep coming into your head. And when you write mock tests without sufficient practice, you don't get good marks. Your handwriting is bad, you're getting all adverse comments, and you tend to question yourself big time. And I did that. I usually don't panic, but I panicked right before mains, and it was, I lost my confidence there. And it was only after, when I wrote my mains, I thought of what I'd done, and I realized that if I miss out on this exam by a few marks, then I will never be able to forgive myself because I wasn't confident then. So I again learned from it. And but then, even though I thought that my mains hasn't gone too well, I didn't bog down. I identified what had gone wrong, and I was ready to give another attempt. But then miracle happened, and I cleared. And next came the stage of interview. So interview personally was a challenge for me, because I am a person who doesn't like being interviewed. I'm sure no one likes being interviewed, but I personally didn't. I didn't like to be the center of attention, where there are 5 people who are judging you, who are marking you for your every move, for your every word. So that was not me. And it was difficult for me to come out of it. I remember my mother, she constantly told me that, Vaishali, this is what you have to do. There is no running away from it. Now that you've got this opportunity, there are very few people who get this opportunity. Do not let go of this opportunity. Please, please go for it. Please, please, please give a lot of mock interviews. And it was from there that I realized that yes, this examination has this requirement. I need to mold myself according to what is expected of me. And I went ahead and gave some 10, 11 mock interviews. This is something that I would not have done if I wouldn't have identified myself, identified my weaknesses, and told myself that you have to overcome these. So I used to feel that after every mock interview, I used to identify one or the other weakness of mine and I used to rectify it. And by the end of it, towards the end, I was completely confident that okay, dekhte hain kya hoga, I'll deal with it. There are certain boards which you always want to avoid. There are certain boards that you always want for the interview. That's the case with every interview. So my luck being mine, I got a board that I wanted to avoid. But thankfully, one day before my interview, I talked to myself that Vaishali, even if you get the toughest board, even if you get someone who you wanted to avoid, it's okay. You will do your best, you will give your best, and it'll work out. And it worked out. So during my interview, so I was a bit scared, but I also knew that I have to be confident. I need to smile. I need to come across as a positive person, because I realized that we want to talk to people who are more positive, who talk about things in a manner that makes you want to listen to them. So that is what I understood about myself, and that's what I did in my interview. So I remember I didn't want my interview to go on law. It was 90% law. I didn't want the interviewers to ask me questions from criminal law because I had a corporate law background. 90% of the law questions were on criminal law. So the entire interview was going against my wishes right from the very first step. But I knew that I had to fight this, that this is something that I'll face. I had developed that confidence in my previous 2 attempts because I had faced a lot of issues and this was nothing in front of that. So towards the end of my interview, the chairperson, he said that, Vaishali, are you sure you want to join civil services? And I thought, oh my God, what have I done wrong here? Why is he asking me this question? But then he said that, because I think you will make a very good lawyer and you should be in the field. I'll recommend it on your papers. So he almost wrote on my papers that I should be a lawyer. And at that moment, I had 2 options. One, either to panic. And second, to compose myself and give a nice answer. The first instinct was to panic, but then I controlled it. And I just smiled and said in a very reassuring way that, sir, this is really what I want to do. And he just nodded and he said, all right, Vaishali, your interview is over. And that was the end of the 3 stages of my preparation. I wasn't sure of even making it to the list because that's what we aspirants usually think. We always think that we haven't done enough. But my mother, she was very confident that top 100 to pakka hai, beta look, you'll get 900 plus minus 15 and top 10 is also sure. So I used to just look at her face and I used to feel confident after she used to tell me this. And it was because of her that I thought when the result will come, I will not do Control F, I will read the first 10 names and then I will do Control F if I don't find my names in the top 10. I wasn't expecting this, but I remember when I saw my name, I started shouting and I just told my mother that, Mama, what you've said has come true. And that was an amazing feeling. And after that, I reflected back on what all I'd been through, what all I'd done. I'd been through a number of problems, such as before prelims, someone was ill, then during the mains, I had a ligament tear, I wrote 4 exams with that pain, but it ultimately worked out. At that point, I probably didn't know how strong I was, but I was strong, it worked out. And there were certain failures also that I faced. At that point, I thought that isse bura kuch nahi ho sakta mere liye. I've ruined my life. But eventually, it was that failure that helped me succeed and helped me reach where I am today. And this entire process made me realize that what I've achieved or what you achieve is a culmination of a number of things that happened to you right from your childhood, and you build up on it, and that we must believe in ourselves, because that is what usually lacks in us, and we should just believe in ourselves. So that's about my journey of civil services. Hey everyone, this was Vaishali Singh, IAS 2018 All India Rank 8, and this was my story. If you wish to hear many more amazing stories, do subscribe to Stories Worth Sharing. And yes, please don't forget to share this video around.